On to our episode 3, The Power Years. I'm Helen Renwick, and I'm here together with wonderful Katarina Hansen Carlson. Today we are exploring a theme that is close to both of us. Happiness begins in the soul. So before we begin, if you're joining, say hello in the comments and let us know where you're tuning in from. We would love to see where everyone is watching from. So last week, if you watched this, after our live, then Katarina said, I have a topic for next week. And I said, what? Happiness. I'm like, wow, that sounds really exciting. So I suggested that we each draw a card and imagine what we drew. We drew 2 cards, one with live in joy and the other one happiness card. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that during our talk today. So because so often we are told happiness comes from success, achievement, or having it all. But deep down, we know it's something much deeper. So today we are going to discuss how joy and happiness truly begins within. So Katarina, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Helen.
So tell me, happiness starts in the soul. Where did you think of that?
It just came to me. It just came to me that ideas come to me, and I'm very, very open to ideas just coming. They can come in the middle of the night, and happiness starts in the soul. I'd never heard anybody say that. And I thought how true that is. It doesn't start in the mind. It doesn't start even in the spirit. It starts in the soul, because the soul is emotion. Every emotion we feel is recorded in the soul. So happiness is not a superficial thing. It's a very, very deep thing. Joy is an even deeper thing. Yeah. So it just came to me, and I thought, wow, that's a great subject to discuss.
And then we were, guided, and we both, we didn't know the cards we would draw, and it was happiness and joy.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the cards you have, I haven't card maybe I picked joy, you picked happiness. I mean, there you go.
So then we came up with, let's go through, like we said, we are going to choose 3 different topics every episode we do. So the misconception of happiness. And if I start, with my story on this, because why do so many of us chase success or perfection, thinking it will make us happy? Did I do that? Yeah, I did. For a long time, I believed that happiness was tied to achievement. So I have told others before in my corporate career, which I stayed for 15 years, I had titles, the success, the international lifestyle. On the outside, it all looked perfect. But on the inside, I felt restless and a little bit empty. I kept thinking, if I just reach the next goal, the next promotion, the next recognition, then I'll be happy. But what I learned, sometimes the hard way, it's that chasing external success doesn't guarantee joy. In fact, it can make you more disconnected from yourself. And the real shift came when I began asking, what do I have? Not what do I have? How do I feel? What do I need to thrive from within? And that was the beginning of understanding that happiness is not something you achieve. It's something you cultivate. So Katarina, when you look at that question, what
comes up for me
yeah,
is that children are naturally in joy. If we leave them alone, if we stop saying no, no, no to them and say yes as much as possible, as long as they're not in danger, then they can actually teach us joy. So hang out with children, hang out with your grandchildren, teach, play, and be creative. They are so enjoy. I can hear a little blur in joy right now. They're in London in joy. And so I think we're programmed in school to sit down and shut up and listen to the teacher. And I think, just as you were saying, Helen, we are programmed to jump through the hoops. You're in grade one, and you learn to read and write. Okay, next one, arithmetic, and then geometry, algebra, etc., and Latin maybe. And then you think, oh, but just if I get to the next stage, if I get to the next stage, if I pass my exams, my GCEs, my A levels, oh, if I go to university, oh, then I'm intelligent. And if I'm intelligent, I'm going to get a great job, I'm going to get money, and then I get married and be happy. Well, I was married and I was happy up to a certain extent. I had a beautiful home with a swimming pool, with two beautiful children, married to my soulmate. You would have thought, well, Katarina, you've got it all. But I was lonely. I think I mentioned before, I was lonely inside. So I had to leave. Why? Because my soul drove me to realm. And my husband happened to be going through a, a lifetime crisis, as they say, midlife crisis, and he chose a younger woman to marry. So I was free to choose, and you can choose happiness. I listened to myself and realized I was lonely, I was lost, I was disconnected, and I didn't know who I was. So I started on a journey of self-discovery, and I discovered joy in myself. And so joy, absolutely what you say, Helen, doesn't come from achievement. It comes from knowing yourself, loving yourself, listening to yourself, and creating your life of joy.
Mm. Beautiful. And you said it so right there, you can choose happiness. So happiness as an inner state, what have we learned about joy and happiness as something, cultivated from inside? We can choose it. Of course, we can have a job and we can do that too. And we can choose happiness and joy during that time. But again, it has to be aligned with your values, I believe, because that has to be the first thing. I didn't look, and like we discussed last time, did I know my values? No. If I would have known my values more, my core values, then I could have matched them with the company I was working. And if that's aligned, then you can choose, because, that has to be aligned there. So, we had last week these cards. So I drew this card, happiness. And when I pulled this happiness card last week, it really struck me, because what we learned is that true happiness isn't about what happens outside of us. It's an inner state we choose and cultivate. And, it was like here it said, happiness attract everything you want. The shortcut to anything you want in your life is to be and feel happy now. Yes. For me, it shows up in small daily moments. It doesn't have to be big. When I feel aligned, when I feel I honor my boundaries, and when I choose joy over pressure, that's when happiness flows, not because of the circumstances, but because of how I show up inside of me.
Beautiful. So shall I talk about my card?
Yeah, why not?
you just sent me. And yeah, humanity needs your joy. Planet Earth needs your joy. The universe needs your joy. And that's why you are here. Find what brings you joy, start living it, and you will have fulfilled your purpose. So that doesn't just apply to me, it applies to everybody listening. I mean, are we spreading joy in the world? I mean, there are wars going on, there's a lot of turbulence going on in the world. Are we spreading joy anyway? I remember, Helen, at a conference, you talked about oxytocin, right? That just smiling at somebody, having eye contact with somebody, like children do naturally. I have a grandchild that just goes up to anybody and talks, an adult, and has a conversation with them. He doesn't care what age they are. So we are all here to 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 spread our joy. And for me, the biggest pain I went through, and when you look at your pain, it is actually an indicator. You look at 3 things that are not working in your life. You can just write down, this is not working, this is not working, this is not working. For example, my relationships were not working. Money wasn't working for me. What else? I didn't feel fulfilled. So what's the opposite?
Reframing.
Great relationship, money working for me and with me. And what was the third thing?
Yeah.
Fulfillment. Yeah, fulfillment. So you were talking about core values. My core values are truth, greatness, and vision. When I found that, I was ecstatic. But it was not just about me. It was, what if everybody knew their truth, their greatness, their vision? So that's when I created the Entrepreneurial Blueprint Consultation. And now we're putting that into schools. So children will now know, this is my truth. This is who I am. This is what my parents say I am, but this is who I say I am.
So important.
This is my greatness. This is my brilliance. And instead of, what's the latest mobile game, I'm going to ask my friends, what's your brilliance? What's your brilliance? What's your genius? And what's your vision? Where are you going to be in 5 years' time? So,
And often we don't let children say who they are because
no, we can children ask them, saw you, because and if you ask a child, they probably be like stunned at first, and they may say, "Well, my name is," and they, no, not your name, not your address. Are you really? They may say, I'm a rocket star. I'm an astronaut. I'm a doctor. I'm a healer. I'm a joy flyer. Will just make it up. And they're absolutely right. Whatever they say they are.
Beautiful. So then we have this third one here, living it daily. So what practical ways do we each use to embody joy and happiness in daily life and work? So Katarina and I will share 3 tips or 2 tips. So I created my program that is called The Power of No Without Guilt. So, for me, joy often comes from protecting my energy. Saying no without guilt creates a space for what truly lights me up. Boundaries are not walls, they are doorways to happiness because I choose for me. And so that's one, the power without guilt. And then 2, micro moments of presence. So what I have learned doesn't just live the big milestones. No, it's the little short pauses of enjoying my morning coffee, walk in the nature, or to laugh with my children and my grandchildren. Choosing to notice those moments that bring me daily joy, because that's all I have. This moment now. And then number 3, Katarina was just mentioning reframing pressures into possibility. I love reframing. So when I catch myself in my perfectionist or pressure, because I have those moments, I pause and ask myself, what would bring more ease right now? Not easy, bring more ease. That simple shift helps me to reconnect with my joy instead of stress. So that was just small tips from me.
Beautiful. All right. My 3 tips. Number 1, love yourself. The most important relationship in life, some people would say, is with God. But how can you love God if you don't love yourself? You can't, actually. It's like fill yourself with the wine of love. Like you're a bottle of wine. You fill yourself with the wine of love and you let it flow over to everybody else. You don't have to try to love everybody else. You just do naturally if you love yourself. Now, if you deny yourself love, you can't love anyone. Can't love God. I mean, it becomes a hypocrisy. So fill yourself with the wine of love, number 1. And be kind, be loving and kind to yourself. And then you'll be kind and loving to everyone else. And number 3, appreciate and be, just like Helen said, appreciate and be grateful for every single moment. Now, I don't know if you've read War and Peace or you've seen the movie War and Peace, but there's a moment when Pierre is actually in jail. Right. Now, most people in jail would be miserable. They'd be hungry. They'd be starving. They'd be dirty. There are no showers in the jail.
Maybe they are. In Sweden, they are quite nice. In Sweden, they're quite nice now.
Yeah, but Pierre was not in a Swedish jail. He was in a Russian jail. They didn't care about convenience or health. And it was during the Napoleonic Wars. So he was there and he was feeling miserable. He was miserable with himself. He was miserable with his life. He was miserable with everything. And he met this amazing man, this old man who was actually dying with a little dog. And this old man shared his last piece of bread with Pierre. And Pierre started to gobble it up. And the man said, no, 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 no. Gently appreciate each bite. Here, put some salt on the bread and eat it very, very gently and carefully and with gratitude. And the little dog was wagging his tail. He had a little bit of bread too. And the little dog was happy, in joy. He didn't care if he was in a jail as long as he was with his owner, right? And the owner died later. The old man died later. And the little dog was very upset. But Pierre adopted the dog and he went home. He was rescued. He went home to eat and he did what he normally did, like stuff everything into his. It was a count, so he had plenty of money. Stuff everything into his mouth, and then he remembered the old man. And he remembered the old man. He was full of joy, full of bliss, full of wisdom, and he ate very slowly and appreciated every bite. So, appreciate every little bite of life.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
I have never seen that movie, but I guess I have to go and see that.
Oh yeah, go see the movie. It's one of the greatest. It's one of the greatest books ever written, and I've actually read the whole thing in Swedish. And um, and the film is amazing. It's on Netflix probably.
We will drop you the name in the comments. Yeah.
Yes, I will.
So the biggest takeaway today for me is that happiness doesn't begin when we achieve more. It begins in the soul when we choose joy. and happiness. What about you?
Yeah, I would say be grateful for every single day. It's a day of your life, and life is a gift. Life is a game, and it's a gift. So play the game and accept the gift every single day, every single moment. And if you're, I'm not saying be a hypocrite and say, oh, I'm happy, happy, happy. No. If you're sad, be sad and write down why you're sad because
Right.
your soul,
Write down. That's very important.
write it down and do something about it. Find out why you're sad. You know, people are not there to make you happy. Your wife, your spouse, they say, you're there to make me happy. No, nobody can make you happy but you. Why? Because you've lived with yourself for the whole of your life and you will live with yourself every single day for the whole of your life. So you might as well get on with you and listen to you. And if you're sad, find out why and change. Do something different because your soul will tell you. It will tell you.
Mm. And you know what you were saying, life is a gift. So gift, that name in Swedish is present, and it's almost like present. So
In the present.
yes, I always when somebody say a gift, and then I have made that into my mind, present, because that's my mother language, and that's to be present. Because again, if you receive a gift every day, we have to be present to receive it.
Yeah.
And so that was very beautiful. And you remember before we started, you were talking about the children, and I asked you, why don't you share that when, as the ending of this little episode?
Yes. As I said before, children are naturally in joy unless we stop them. So, and they're coming from up to 6 years old. 98% of children are coming from creative genius. 98%.
That's just something, I mean, when I learned that.
Amazing. So, why are we not nurturing that creativity? Why are we not learning from our children to be in joy? Because they can show us joy. I mean, and I have two grandchildren and they play. I don't have to give them stuff. They take an ironing board and make a bed out of it and create a bedroom and uh, just create a fantasy world out of an ironing.
Why not?
You
Why not?
don't think of that.
So until 6 years old, it's 98%.
98% of children, of 1,600 children, show creative genius.
And then tell us, how does it drop down?
It drops down when they're teenagers, drops down to 12%. It's
98 down to 12%. How?
because we program children. We program them, we tell them to sit down, shut up. I don't want to listen to you. You are listening to me.
But obviously, if it's down to 12 when you're a teenager, what do we have now at this age?
As adults, 1,000, this is a NASA report. I'm not making these numbers up, by Dr. George Land. By the time these 1,600 children were adults, their creative genius was down to 2%.
So we should actually be listening to the 6-year-olds if we want new.
Yes, and we need to nurture their genius all the way through school. So they leave school, for example, with an entrepreneurial business that they love. They leave school knowing that they can contribute to the world. You mentioned contribution before. When we contribute to others and we contribute our joy, our knowledge, our wisdom to others, then we are fulfilled. And fulfillment is very, very much part of joy.
So we could actually nurture that creativity and let it, stay higher for longer.
Not only we could, we should.
Yes, I totally agree. But I'm just saying, when we hear this, so, maybe that's something we should be, finding more.
Networking right now,
Mm.
global partners, and I want you to be part of it too.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I feel it in my body. We have all that capacity and we just let it go. And
Yeah.
now, in the time we are living now, we require to keep that creativity because a lot of things can be outsourced to AI, but not our innate creativity. So, what you have shared today, that is extremely urgent that we do something about it
Yes.
because we can.
Yes, we can, because it never goes away. Your creative genius stays in, I would say it stays in your soul
Mm,
until you find it. And if you don't find it, you go through life without creative genius, which is for me not a life of joy.
mm.
But when you find it, which should be educare, education is educare should be bringing out the brilliance in every single child. I mean, it for me, it's a disgrace to say, no, 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 these children are not academic, they're not intelligent. Sorry, there's nothing we can do with them. Absolutely not. They may be dyslexic, they may have ADHD. That doesn't mean to say they're not absolutely brilliant in some capacity. And it's up to us to find that.
And that's what I'm going to leave it with because you just said it everything. Everything. Oh, wow. So thank you for all of you that joined us today and, in the future. And if today's conversation resonated with you, please share it with someone who might need this message and join us next week again. And we will have another episode of the Power Years. Bye bye.
Bye for now.